For a moment, Elaine forgot how to breathe. Standing before her was a being older than entire civilizations and entity who had witnessed the birth of stars and the death of empires. Yet it spoke to her as though she were a child stumbling into a forbidden room. "The destiny we've forgotten?" she asked, voice trembling. The librarian didn't answer at first. Instead, it glided across the chamber. Each step warped gravity, bending the starlit corridors like ripples on water. Shelves unfolded from the voidness, silent, shifting. Finally, it stopped beside a floating crystalline archive and placed a hand over it. The archive ignited, and Elaine saw images not with her eyes, but directly in her mind. A young Earth, still molten, structures on its surface. Not human, not natural. She staggered. That's impossible. Earth was barren then. The librarian turned its faceless head toward her. Humanity records only what it can perceive, but the universe has witnessed more. The images shifted again. Towering beings of light, walking across a newborn world, a device buried beneath tectonic plates, a coded signal dispersing into the cosmos like dandelion seeds on the wind. Elaine clutched her chest as a dull ache filled her lungs. The visions were too vivid, too raw. "What are they?" she whispered. "Your makers." Elaine almost laughed. It was a reflex, the human way of rejecting the unthinkable. Humans evolved naturally. There's evidence, fossils, DNA, all of it true. And incomplete. The librarian raised a hand and the vision ceased. Silence rolled over the chamber like a soft tide. "You were not created," it clarified. "You were edited." Elaine felt the floor tilt beneath her. Edited, changed, intervened with. What was changed? She asked, her voice small. The librarian paused. When it spoke, the chamber dimmed. "Memory." Elaine blinked. "Memory. Your species once remembered its origin, its purpose, its place among the stars." A deep hum reverberated through the archive. Then the great redaction occurred. A veil placed across the human mind, a severing. Elaine's pulse thundered. By who? Those beings, our makers. The librarian's robes fluttered as if stirred by a cosmic breeze. No. The single word froze her blood. The redaction was not done to you, but for you. Elaine's breath caught. To protect us. The librarian did not immediately respond. Instead, it lifted the crystalline archive again, flipping its facets like turning pages. Inside, Elaine saw images of wars, millions of them. Not human wars, wars fought by species older, stronger, more ruthless than humans could imagine. Galaxies collapsing under weapons that tore space-time apart. And then she saw something else. A human figure blurred, indistinct, standing at the center of a supernova. Arms raised like a conductor guiding a symphony of destruction. Other cosmic beings fled from him. Elaine's heart seized. What is that?" she whispered. "A memory from before the redaction," the librarian said. "A memory of what your kind once were capable of." Elaine stumbled backward, shaking her head. "No, humans aren't. We're not like that." The librarian's voice softened, almost mournful. "You were not ready then. You are not ready now." It closed the archive with a resonant thrum. "But the veil is weakening. Something approaches Earth, something that remembers what humanity once was." Elaine felt a chill colder than lunar night crawl down her spine. "What is coming?" she whispered. The librarian's form flickered, dimming. "A reckoning." Elaine felt the word reckoning echo inside her skull long after the librarian spoke it. The archive grew unnervingly quiet. Even the floating codices seemed to dim, as if the knowledge within was holding its breath. Elaine steadied herself. "If something is coming for humanity, what does it want?" The librarian turned, its silhouette scattering into wisps of pale starlight before reforming. Its voice deepened, stretching across the chamber. "Reclamation." Elaine frowned. "Reclamation of what?" "Of you." Her stomach dropped. "Me." She gestured vaguely at her own body. "You mean humans?" The librarian drifted closer. Although it had no face, Elaine felt its attention sharpen like a knife. "You misunderstand, Carbonchard. They seek you specifically." Elaine laughed, half hysteria, half disbelief. "I'm a linguist, a scientist. I barely have a working toaster. Why would some ancient cosmic being come for me?" The librarian gestured, and the air before them twisted. Another archive unfolded, a massive one, glowing with deep crimson light. Elaine felt her chest tighten the moment it opened. Inside were records not of galaxies or civilizations but of individuals, ones marked with identical symbols. Curved sigils glowing like burning embers, a crest, a lineage. Elaine's breath caught as the sigil rotated and split into two pieces, one bright, one dark, then merged again. "What is that?" she whispered. "Your ancestry." Her mind raced. "I'm human. My parents, Your parents were human, the librarian interjected gently. But your lineage extends beyond Earth. The images shifted again, faces humanoid but not human flickered past her. Some had luminous eyes like collapsed stars. Others bore fractal skin patterns that changed with their emotions. All of them possessed the same sigil Elaine had just seen. The librarian's tone softened. You are the descendant of a bloodline that once shaped stellar dynasties. Your ancestors stood among beings who bent laws of physics the way you bend the rules of grammar. Elaine blinked rapidly, grounding herself with science. Logic anything, this is absurd. I don't have powers, I can't bend stars, I get winded climbing stairs. The librarian stepped forward, and for the first time, Elaine sensed something like sympathy radiating from it. The redaction stripped your kind of the knowledge that awakened those abilities. Your potential is sealed. Dormant, dormant, she repeated numbly. But your bloodline remains. Elaine swallowed. So this reckoning is coming for me because of my DNA. Not merely your DNA, the librarian corrected, but your inheritance. The chamber trembled with a low cosmic hum, and Elaine felt the weight of a horrifying truth settling over her. What inheritance? The librarian extended a hand, illuminating the deepest part of the archive. A single glowing seed-shaped object floated there, radiating impossible warmth. Elaine felt drawn to it like part of her recognized it. The last remnant of your ancestors' power, the librarian said. A relic capable of awakening what sleeps within you. Her throat constricted. If this thing wakes something inside me, won't that just make me the target of whatever's coming? The librarian paused. Elaine, you are already the target. Silence suffocated the chamber. Then, a distant clang echoed through the archive, followed by another, and another. The librarian stiffened. They've found us. Elaine's blood turned to ice. They say the universe forgets nothing, but few know the name of the one who remembers everything. The first time humanity learned the universe was keeping a record. It happened in the quietest place imaginable, an abandoned listening station on the dark side of the moon. Dr. Elaine Kade, linguist, skeptic, and reluctant pioneer, was the one who found the signal. It wasn't loud, it wasn't grand, it was simply there, pulsing like a heartbeat between the static of cosmic dust. For 93 minutes, the signal repeated itself, a cadence, a whisper, a sequence of tones that almost resembled speech. Humanity thought it was the first message from an alien civilization reaching out across the void. They were wrong. It wasn't a message at all. It was an invitation. When Elaine isolated the harmonic structure, the signal rearranged itself on her screen, forming luminous patterns, runic arcs that shifted like living constellations. Her breath caught. She'd spent her life studying languages, but this wasn't language. It was memory. The listening station lights blinked out. The temperature plummeted. For a heartbeat, she thought she had triggered some archaic lunar shutdown system, but a glow formed in the center of the room, soft violet, widening like an opening iris, a doorway. Through it shimmered a library the size of galaxies. Elaine stepped forward only because something inside her, an instinct older than speech, recognized the truth. The signal wasn't calling Earth. It was calling her. And beyond that threshold she felt something watching, not aggressively, not impatiently, curiously. The moment she crossed, gravity inverted. Stars wheeled around her feet like microscopic sparks. Books, if they could be called, that floated in the air, each one a crystalline structure containing swirling nebulae. Halls extended endlessly, folding into themselves, reshaping like the pages of a living manuscript. At the center of it all stood a creature. It was tall, robed in filaments of starlight. Its face had no features, yet Elaine felt it studying her with impossible precision. When it spoke, the voice was not a sound but a resonance, a vibration in her bones. Welcome, Carbon Child. Elaine swallowed hard. What is this place? The being raised a hand. Hundreds of crystalline archives shifted, illuminating the chamber with a soft, cosmic glow. This is the archive of all things, the vault of origins, the prison of forgotten truths, the memory of the universe itself. Elaine took a step back. And who are you? Its body flickered, revealing layers, astro lines, gravitational contours, reflections of ancient supernova. It was as if the creature was composed entirely of cosmic history. I am the librarian. The chamber vibrated. Not threatening, more like anticipation. You were selected. The librarian continued. Because humanity is approaching a threshold. Knowledge must be given, or withheld. Elaine's mouth went dry. What knowledge? The librarian extended a crystalline codex. Inside it she glimpsed a brief, horrifying flicker of Earth cities burning, oceans rising, stars aligning into ominous patterns. The truth of your past, it said, and the destiny you have long forgotten. Elaine's heart slammed. How do you know all this? The librarian leaned closer, radiating because, child, I remember everything. The sound came again, a metallic clang like something massive striking the outer walls of the archive. Elaine froze. What was that? The librarian didn't move, but every crystalline archive in the chamber shivered, as if reacting to a shift in cosmic pressure. Hunters, it said quietly. A word spoken not in fear but in ancient recognition. The air rippled, the lights dimmed, a low vibration shook the endless halls. Elaine felt her heartbeat in her teeth. Hunters, as in, hunting me. The librarian lifted a hand toward the trembling shelves. They pursue any fragment of the old bloodline, and you, Elaine Kade, are the last. The floor buckled under a violent tremor. A fissure of dark energy split through the chamber wall far from them and began widening like a wound in space-time itself. Elaine stumbled backward. What are they? The librarian's voice flattened into something cold, factual, stripped of softness. Extinguishers, the fissure pulsed. They were created in the final era of the Stellar Wars, engineered to eliminate any beings capable of rewriting physics. When the redaction occurred, they vanished cast out, forgotten. The fissure expanded into a jagged, spiraling hole. A shadowy figure stepped through, then another, and another. Elaine instinctively retreated behind the librarian, though some part of her knew it would be useless if those creatures wanted her dead. The hunters stood tall at least 3 meters. Their forms were humanoid but skeletal, made of smoldering void metal. Their ribs glowed with molten cracks, as though magma pumped where hearts should be. Their faces were smooth plates with no features, only narrow slits, glowing red like dying stars. And when they turned toward Elaine, she felt cold right down to her bones. Not physical cold, ancestral cold. Recognition, a memory that didn't belong to her, whispered in the back of her skull, a voice like her own. But older, run. The librarian extended its staff of starlight, and the very air thickened as if infused with gravity. You cannot claim her, it declared. The lead hunter responded with a distortion, a warped frequency that made Elaine's vision blur. It was a voice, a language, but older than any she had ever studied. The librarian translated without being asked. We do not claim, we correct. The hunters advanced with a synchronized step. Elaine grabbed the librarian's arm. Can you stop them? The librarian's hesitation was answer enough. In this realm, yes. Beyond it, no. Another crushing tremor shook the archive. Crackling fractures spread across the shelves as entire codices ruptured and collapsed into dust. Elaine watched in horror as cosmic knowledge, millions of years of recorded history, was erased in seconds. They're destroying the archive, she cried. To reach you, the librarian said solemnly, your bloodline still carries a frequency they can track. The nearest hunter raised its arm. A black spear of compressed space-time formed at its palm, humming with lethal intent. Elaine backed away until her shoulders hit a crystalline shelf. I don't know how to fight them. The librarian turned to her, and for the first time since meeting it, she heard urgency in its voice. You must awaken the relic. Elaine shook her head violently. You said I wasn't ready. Readiness is irrelevant. Survival is not. Before she could argue, the librarian placed the glowing seed-shaped relic into her hands. It was warm, too warm, like a heart beating. The hunters charged. Elaine clutched the relic, and the universe exploded. Light detonated around Elaine, silent, absolute, flooding every corner of the archive. Not white, not gold, but a shimmering blend of colors. She had no names, 4 colors, that felt like sound, like emotion, like memory. She gasped, or thought she did, because for a moment she wasn't sure she had a body. Her skin dissolved into luminescent dust. Her bones vibrated like tuning forks struck by cosmic hands. Thoughts multiplied, layered, expanded. She felt her mind stretch outward until she sensed the curvature of distant galaxies, and in the center of it all pulsed the relic, no longer an object in her hands, but a living star suspended inside her chest. Elaine saw it not with eyes, but with awareness. It throbbed gently, sending waves of energy through her. With each pulse, something ancient stirred inside her consciousness, like a sleeping titan turning beneath miles of ice. Faint memories flickered. Not hers, yet somehow hers. A battlefield made of shattered moons. A voice calling her name, not Elaine, but something older. A figure, cloaked in starlight, standing with arms raised as galaxies trembled. Elaine recoiled as the memory snapped, overwhelmed. No, stop, she gasped, falling to her knees as her body reformed around her. The librarian knelt beside her, its energy flickering. It looked weakened. Solidifying its form seemed to take effort now. Do not resist it, the librarian urged gently. The relic is merely unlocking what your bloodline already holds. But Elaine choked on the words. Her hands glowed faintly, constellations swirling across her skin like ink suspended in water. I don't want to be a weapon. The librarian tilted its head. Then choose to be something else. Before she could answer, a violent boom tore through the archive. The hunters had broken through the defensive barrier. They stepped into the chamber, three massive shadows, pulsing with void fire. Their armor cracked open, revealing blazing cores within their chests. Their distorted voices rippled through the air. Correction required, ancestral anomaly detected, eliminate. Elaine staggered backward as energy rippled off their bodies, distorting space like heat shimmering off desert sand. The librarian rose to its full height, staff blazing. Elaine, listen to me. Another pulse shook the archive, cracks spiraled across the crystalline walls. You cannot defeat them with fear, the librarian said. You must remember. Elaine turned toward the relic inside her chest. It glowed steadily, calling to her, whispering, awaken. She shook her head. I don't know how. The librarian raised its free hand and touched her forehead with a single glowing finger. Then let me remind you. A surge of memory crashed into her. She stood on a burning horizon, watching a supernova collapse into her outstretched palm. She saw her ancestors guiding starforgers, bending nebulae into shapes. She heard an ancient oath spoken in a language older than starlight. Where darkness hunts, I rise. Elaine gasped as the memory burned through her veins. Her eyes snapped open, light pure radiant, a life poured from them. The hunters lunged. Elaine didn't think. Instinct moved her. She raised her hand. A wave of starfire erupted outward, slamming into the hunters with the force of a newborn sun. The chamber shook violently as two hunters were driven back, their armor fracturing under the blast. The librarian watched her with something almost like pride. Elaine trembled, staring at her glowing hands. I did that. Yes, the librarian whispered, and you are only beginning. But the third hunter, the largest, stepped forward through the fading light. Its core burned hotter, brighter fury incarnate. It spoke a single final word, retribution, then it charged. The largest hunter thundered across the shattered floor, each step warping space-time beneath it. Its molten core flared, casting rippling shadows like claws reaching for Elaine's throat. Elaine tried to summon the starfire again, but the relic's energy sputtered inside her. The first awakening had drained her more than she realized. Her knees buckled. Librarian, she gasped. The librarian moved with blinding speed, interposing itself between her and the charging hunter. Its staff slammed into the ground, triggering a protective barrier that erupted outward in a sphere of shimmering fractal light. The hunter's blow struck the barrier, and the entire archive screamed. Cracks spiderwebbed across the crystalline walls, luminescent knowledge bleeding into the air like shattered memories. The librarian strained, starlight flickering weakly across its form. Elaine, the archive is collapsing. She staggered to her feet. Then let's leave. You can. I cannot. Elaine froze. What? No, you're coming with me. The librarian didn't turn, didn't waver, only held the barrier steady as fractures widened behind them. This realm is bound to me. If I depart, it unravels, and with it every record ever preserved. But you'll die, Elaine cried. The librarian's voice softened. My existence has always been tied to knowledge, not survival. Another impact smashed into the barrier. The librarian's form flickered violently. Elaine felt panic spike in her chest. She couldn't do this alone. She couldn't leave the only being in the universe who understood her bloodline. The largest hunter pulled back for another strike, its molten veins pulsing with murderous intent. The librarian turned its head slightly, just enough for her to hear its final instruction. You carry within you the memory of 1,000 civilizations. Use it. Elaine's breath trembled. Use it. The relic inside her chest pulsed once weakly, but clearly, a call, a reminder. She reached inward, not physically, consciously. The archive around her seemed to respond. Symbols, languages, and memories rose from the fractured shelves like fireflies gathering around a flame. They swirled around her until she felt their weight, their history, their power. She lifted her hand. A soft glow shimmered in her palm. Not starfire this time. Memory. Pure, unfiltered cosmic memory. The librarian's voice echoed beside her. A hunter cannot be destroyed by force, but it can be unmade by truth. Elaine stepped forward, light swirling around her fingertips like luminous smoke. The giant hunter roared and swung. Elaine touched its molten chest with a single glowing finger. The world fell silent. A shockwave rippled through the hunter as Elaine unleashed a torrent of pure memory. The history of the bloodline it was engineered to destroy. The faces, the oaths, the celestial wars, the tragedies, the brilliance, the truth of what her ancestors once were, and what they became. The hunter convulsed. Its armor cracked, its molten core flickered, then, with a sound like a dying star exhaling, it disintegrated in a plume of cosmic dust. Elaine collapsed to her knees, drained. The remaining hunters, broken, destabilized, retreated through the fissure they came from. The rift sealed behind them like a closing wound. Silence. The archive's ceiling trembled ominously. The librarian, now dim, approached her. You have done what no one of your lineage has accomplished since the redaction. Elaine wiped tears from her eyes. I couldn't have done it without you. The librarian placed a hand over her heart, where the relic pulsed faintly. You will not be alone. The relic carries more than power. It carries guidance. Another rumble shook the realm. The walls began to crumble. Go, Elaine. Return to your world. The cosmos will seek you. But now, you are ready. Elaine reached out desperately. Please, the librarian smiled with its voice, soft as dying starlight. Keep the memory of this place. That is enough. Light engulfed her. A final whisper. Where darkness hunts, you rise. And Elaine awoke on the cold metal floor of the derelict station, the relic glowing like a heartbeat beneath her skin. The last remnant of a forgotten dynasty. The first spark of a new one. The end of the beginning.